The Promise. What you seek is seeking you. Rumi. (1998) Once it was just the two of us again, Pierre and I fell back into our normal interaction of loving communication. The house was quieter without the lively presence of our summer guests and became a sanctuary for our deepening relationship. We spent our days immersed in the gentle rhythms of island life, enjoying long walks on the beach, quiet moments in the garden, and evenings filled with Pierre's exquisite cooking. As the months passed, however, a growing restlessness began to gnaw at me. I was turning 29 and I felt my biological clock ticking. 8 months after my initial visit to the beach house in West Bay, these doubts turned into thoughts I could no longer ignore. I found myself increasingly preoccupied with the future. One evening, as we sat together on the porch watching the sun set over the horizon, I decided to voice my concerns. The sky at sunset was lit up with red and orange hues that provided a perfect backdrop for a conversation that would shape our future. "Pierre," I began, breaking the comfortable silence between us. He turned to look at me, his expression attentive, sensing the importance of what I was about to say. "You are much older than me, and I need to know if you would have children with me," I continued, my voice steady. "I don't want to wait and then find out that you don't want any more kids. I need to know now." Pierre let out a stifled laugh and then became pensive, the weight of my question hanging in the air between us. After a long pause, he finally spoke. "If we have children, I want to have 2, so they will play together," he said. "I also want you to take care of them," he continued. Without hesitation, I nodded in agreement, but the implication of this promise was something I didn't fully grasp at that moment. In my eagerness to build a future with Pierre, I focused on the idea of having children with him, but not on the reality of what raising them would require. The concept of taking care of them was vast and layered, far more complex than I could comprehend in that one moment. Yet in my heart, I felt a deep commitment to the life we were envisioning, even if the details were still unclear to me. To mark the beginning of our union, I decided to create a symbolic gesture. The next morning, I gathered leaves strewn about by a recent storm and formed a circle around us on the beach. The storm was lingering but no longer strong. The blue sky was peeking out behind the remaining clouds, and the waves made a big sound each time they crashed on the beach. Seated within this circle of leaves, I looked at Pierre and said, "This circle is never ending, just like our love. Do you accept?" He nodded yes. Those were the only vows we ever exchanged sitting inside that circle. It was the only marriage agreement we ever had. The simplicity and sincerity of that moment solidified our feelings for one another. From that day forward, we embraced the future with a shared vision. Our hearts were united by the promises we made in the circle of leaves under the painted sky. To commemorate our union, we embarked on our first journey together, a trek through the high mountains of Ecuador. Pierre took me to remote locations where indigenous people still adorned their traditional attire and preserved native customs. We sipped teas crafted from the cocoa plants to oxygenate the blood in high-altitude environments, and I remained in awe of all the new traditions that we experienced. We stayed in secluded mountain hotels, and we went hiking in the high mountains with wild horses and llamas. In the chilly nights, camping near rivers, we zipped our sleeping bags together to share warmth. Some might still remember our passion as we celebrated the beginning of our relationship. In some of the more remote hotels in the indigenous villages, the walls vibrated with orgasms and delights. The loving feelings cultivated during that trip anchored us and kept our relationship strong. We continued our honeymoon adventure to Mexico in the city of San Miguel de Allende, where we searched for traditional masks to decorate Pierre's houses. Pierre said that when you decorate your house with art, it seems more valuable. This was a part of the philosophy of the art of living that I was learning. We spent many hours looking in stores until Pierre found the masks he wanted. In one store, he was taking an especially long time talking to the store owner, so I settled into a solitary chair in front of a large desk while I waited. The walls were adorned with an array of colorful masks that lent an air of intrigue to the small place. A few customers quietly browsed, adding a sense of subdued activity and giving the shop a mysterious and inviting atmosphere. After what felt like an eternity, Pierre wrapped up his conversation with the store owner, and he was ready to sign the purchase contract. Instead of joining me at the desk where I waited, Pierre strode over and spoke to me abruptly. "Get up, I need the chair," he ordered. I was taken aback. That wasn't how we spoke to each other. I looked at him, surprised, and stood up while the store owner watched us uncomfortably. Confusion and hurt overwhelmed me as I tried to process what had just happened. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the store grew tense. The disappointment weighed on me, so I left to wait for Pierre outside. After half an hour, he came out. His enthusiasm was intense. "I got all the masks we need for the houses," he informed me. "The store owner wanted to know if you were offended," he added. "So I told him you just needed some air." He waved his hand dismissively, as if to brush away any notion that I might have been upset. I felt offended by his indifference to my feelings. I took a big breath of air and let out a deep sigh, unsure of how to respond. I resolved not to let Pierre's momentary harshness cast a shadow over such a wonderful trip, but I couldn't ignore the growing unease within me. His abrupt command felt like a betrayal and a sharp contrast to the tenderness we shared in private. I was beginning to see a troubling pattern where Pierre spoke to me patronizingly when he was in front of other people, especially men. This disparity between our private intimacy and his public demeanor was unsettling and planted seeds of doubt about the dynamics of our relationship. I was confused as I wrestled with the possibility that the man I adored might not speak to me as respectfully as I had believed. This reminded me of Mark and his cutting tones. On that day, this painful realization cast a shadow over the beautiful life I imagined us creating together.